we begin tonight by acknowledging that there is political life after health reform. The sky has not fallen. Death panels are not convening to wreak communist, fascist death panel-y things upon the nation. And Democrats have learned that passing stuff is one way to make politics work well for you. Today, President Obama, Democrats, and Republicans all began day one of their new post-health reform political lives. Republicans started in the U.S. Senate by preventing the passage of benefits for Americans who are out of work. Republican Senator Tom Coburn of Oklahoma turning himself into a one-man roadblock, a one-man objection to the Senate's attempt to pass an extension of unemployment benefits before the start of the Easter recess.
Is there an objection?
Reserving the right to object.
Senator from Oklahoma.
Again, I would note that this is the fourth time I've done this. I have to object because we will be adding to the debt.
Thanks to Mr. Coburn's objections, hundreds of thousands of jobless Americans may lose their unemployment benefits now until Congress comes back from its recess. That was post-health care day one for Republicans in Washington. Meanwhile, in Arizona, the team that led Republicans to their current minority status in Washington got back together again for the first time since the election in which they came in second. Sarah Palin hit the campaign trail again today to stump for her old friend John McCain in his heated battle to hold on to his Senate seat come November. Since she quit as governor of Alaska, Ms. Palin may be officially out of the politics game now, but it turns out political speechifying is something that just never really leaves you.
I think this go around, when all the votes are tallied, I think he's going to win this one. From the 2008 campaign, but one thing that has not changed is my deep respect and admiration for the McCains and my support of Senator John McCain. Louisiana's governor recently said, you know, we're being accused of being the party of no because we oppose some of the things that the administration's doing. The Louisiana governor says, well, no, we're not the party of no. We're the party of hell no.
No, we can't. No, we can't. Hell no. The party of hell no. They want to be called the party of hell no. Go on.
You know, hearing the news reports lately, kind of this ginned up controversy about us, common sense conservatives, inciting violence because we happen to oppose some of the things in the Obama administration. BS coming from the lamestream media lately about us inciting violence. Don't let the conversation be diverted. Don't let a distraction like that get you off track.
We haven't done any of that alleged inciting, says the woman who urged conservatives this week to reload and then kindly offered a map with all of these friendly rifle scopes to direct conservatives to where to aim their presumably proverbial fire. Please go on.
Let me clear the air right now. We might as well call it like we see it, right? And not beat around the bush. In respect to the Tea Party movement, beautiful movement. You know what? Everybody here today supporting John McCain, we're all part of that Tea Party movement. Because...
Remember first when it was "We Are All Georgians"? When Russia invaded the Republic of Georgia. And then it was, "We are all Joe the Plumber." Now it's, "We are all Tea Partiers." Turns out we are all a whole lot of things. We, in fact, are crowded.
John McCain is standing up for the time-tested truths that have built this country into the greatest country on earth, and is why we are so proud to be Americans, and we don't apologize for America. These truths, the belief that the government that governs least governs best.
It's nice to have them back together, isn't it? While the Republican Party is framing itself now with all these exclamation points as the government in waiting that would like to not really govern at all, that would like to govern as little as possible, while Republicans are framing themselves that way, the actual government is busy governing. Today was day one of their post-health reform lives as well for President Obama and the Democrats. Riding the wave of their legislative victory on health reform, the administration and congressional Democrats are in a position now of deciding what they want to do next. Toward what goal would they like to apply the political capital they have just earned with this big win on health care? It turns out they have decided to not take on something easy. They've decided to not go for a political gimme. They've decided to not construct something to run against that isn't real but gives them good headlines. Instead, they're going after one of the heaviest things that is weighing on the country right now. Struggling homeowners who can't pay their mortgages and are getting their homes taken over by the very banks which we all helped bail out. 10 to 12 million homeowners are now in danger of getting foreclosed on in the next 3 years. To help people who are now in that situation and in trouble today, the White House announced a number of new initiatives. Unemployed homeowners are now eligible for a 3 to 6 month break on their mortgage payments. If you own your home and you don't have a job, you may soon be able to modify your mortgage so you're not spending any more than 31% of your monthly income paying to stay in your home. The White House also rolling out new financial incentives for banks to reduce mortgage payments for homeowners who are underwater, who owe more on their loans than their home is worth. Democrats also just voted to take commercial banks out of the student loan market. And it sounds like sort of a finicky regulatory change of some sort. It's actually very simple. For years, government gave commercial banks like Sallie Mae, for example, guaranteed federal subsidies to make college loans to students. Trust me, I've had my share. On top of those subsidies, the government assumed most of the risk for these loans that the banks were giving out. So if you think about that for a second, the banks were essentially getting guaranteed profits on these loans and no risks, all for the privilege of being the middleman in all of our college loans. So why not cut out the middleman and let the taxpayers make the profit on these loans, since it's we, the taxpayers, who were assuming the risk on them anyway? That's what Congress has just done. And the profit that we'll all be making instead of those commercial banks will go to pay for more student grants for people who now can't afford college. Ta-da! Government. Neat. In the wake of this huge, momentous legislative achievement for Democrats this week in health reform, it is back to the starting line for both parties in terms of what to do next in politics. And this is how they've gotten out of the gate. Joining us now is Democratic Congressman Anthony Weiner of New York. Congressman Weiner, thanks very much for coming in tonight.
It's my pleasure. Thanks.
Now that the health reform fight is done for now, we are starting anew in terms of legislating. What do you see as the main priorities for what Democrats are going to do with the sort of political capital they earned on health reform?
Well, I think we've kind of set up this paradigm that's exactly the way it looks, which are Democrats are trying to solve problems. We don't always get it perfect, and sometimes we have internal battles, but we're trying to figure out a way to move the ball forward. And the Republicans are stuck in this place that they don't really have an agenda beyond stopping us from doing stuff. Now, admittedly, it's sometimes pretty easy to stop us from doing stuff. Sometimes we can do it all alone without their help. But I think the American people of all political stripes ultimately want government to work. They want it to accomplish things. And actually, I believe that the American people admire the idea that we believe things and are trying to achieve them, even if they're not 100% with us on every line of it. So we have this dynamic that their entire raison d'etre in the Republican Party is to gum up the works. You saw Coburn do it. You saw Republicans pledge every single day that they're going to try to stop us from getting anything done. We're going to try to relieve the burden on homeowners. And it's not just for the people that are going to get the relief. If you live next door to a foreclosed house, you're having a pretty bad day. We're going to try to figure out a way to lift the middle class up by trying to get the economy going again. Healthcare is a big part of that. Student loans are a big part of that. All these arguments that two things don't go together. No, they exactly go together. They're the two biggest things that middle-class people worry about, going bankrupt because of health care and not being able to afford to send their kids to college. And we're going to keep trying these things. And I think the president realizes that if the Republicans want to go backwards and keep litigating health care reform, okay, because it's just going to reinforce the idea that we're moving in the other direction.
The other thing that is still out there in politics, and I realize it's gotten a lot of ink and a lot of attention in the past couple of days, and I don't want to overdo it. But I know it personally affected you in terms of your office receiving some specific threats. And I know that it's something about which I am very concerned, and that is the idea that the anger that's out there in the country about political matters has been channeled into both violence and threats in the form of intimidation. In terms of your specific experience, what you've been through, what you think is going on in the country right now, how does it make you feel to see Sarah Palin saying that this is a side issue, it's a diversion, we shouldn't be talking about it?
Well, first of all, you got to wonder if there's a little thought bubble what John McCain is thinking standing behind the woman. What happened to John McCain? He used to be someone that, stood up for what he believes. Now he's become captive to this Tea Party thing also. The mistake that Sarah Palin is making is that, yeah, we know it's a metaphor to say to target members and to put them in the crosshairs. The problem is, as I've watched my mail, and maybe I've led with my chin more than most people, so I get more mail than most people, you see the gradual movement of the line, and you can see how crazy out there doesn't understand it's a metaphor, and that reload is not just a figure of speech. And I've gotten a bunch of mail, most of it reasoned, some of it very passionate, but a few folks who clearly don't understand that Sarah Palin's talking in metaphors, and she needs to understand that. That's part of being a leader in this country, is saying to your own crazies, you've got to dial it down some. We saw in Congress in the last 10 days people getting into the House gallery and heckling and being cheered by Republican members. Republican members saying to another, you're a baby killer. Republican members standing on the portico of the